The latest consumer confidence report is due out tomorrow. Set your watches.
That's right. This monthly survey details the attitudes of consumers across the U.S., and the report will be released as Wall Street is on track to wrap up its worst first half of the year for investors in decades. U.S. stocks are flat following a significant rebound last week.
Joining us now is Lori Bettinger. She is the president of BancAlliance, and she served as the director of the Troubled Asset Relief Program, the TARP program. Remember that? During the Obama years. She joins us now. Lori, thank you for being with us. Should Americans be concerned or not so confident about tomorrow's confidence report? What should we be watching for?
Thanks, Tony. That's a great question. I think we're all looking for positive news here, but I'm not that optimistic that we're going to find it with tomorrow's release. We saw a little bit, I think, of a preview on Friday. There was another consumer confidence report that came out that showed, a definite decline where consumers just aren't feeling as great about the economy. And in my opinion, we're probably going to see that trend continue in tomorrow's release.
But Lori, on a certain level, isn't that what the Fed's goal was, right? To sort of pull back spending, make people stop, the supply and demand problem that was helping inflation rise. Wasn't that part of the plan? Isn't that what we want to see?
Yeah, Tanya, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting. In tomorrow's release, right, there's sort of two components. One is sort of how you're feeling today, what's going on with the current conditions, and then one is about your future expectations. And I think, so frequently we're seeing that people actually feel okay about what they're seeing today, right? The job market's good. They feel secure in their jobs. They feel like they could find another job if they needed to. But, you keep hearing about high inflation and the Fed increasing rates, and what are things going to look like tomorrow or the next month or, let's say by the end of the year. And that's what makes you, I think, sometimes decide to slow down. Maybe it's a vacation. You're like, I should just take 3 days, not a week. I should spend less. Maybe you should put off that big ticket purchase for a laundry machine or a car or some other, appliance. And that's, I think, exactly what, the Fed is hoping to see, that gradually this sort of consumer demand starts to slow. And of course, the key is, can it slow gradually?
Lori, looking ahead to Thursday, we are going to get the latest consumer prices from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. As I understand it, this is what the Federal Reserve, the big old central bank, is looking at closely when it thinks about inflation. Do I have that right? So I guess I'm curious, how much will that number that comes out Thursday affect whether the Fed will raise rates more looking ahead, which means more payments on cars and mortgages go up, everything becomes a little bit more expensive.
Credit cards,
yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And the report coming out on Thursday, I think it's the PCE, I sometimes get my acronyms backwards, is what the Fed looks at and what they target. But, again, there's these two measures, and the other one, the CPI, tends to generate a lot more interest and news around it. So even though, I think, and honestly, the CPI has been running higher than the PCE lately. So I think we're going to see the Fed certainly focus on that. I think it would absolutely influence their coming decisions. But, to some extent, to really figure out how the economy is doing, I think you have to look at both measures of inflation. They come out at different times. They're created by different government agencies, and they have slightly different methodology. But again, as always, all eyes will be on that release later this week.
All right. So many elements to this equation. All right. Well, Lori Bettinger, thanks for joining us once again. Always great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.